No, I'm sorry. Zion. Zion.
Ches.
Again, I did it? Come on, man. You say ches. You Zion
Yeah.
ches.
Yud Aleph Ches.
Yud Aleph ches. If one cooked it in sacred and non-sacred meat, or the meat of a whole most holy offerings and of offerings of lesser holiness, if there is enough of them to impart flavor, the less stringent one must be eaten in the manner of the more stringent ones. And they do not require purging and rinsing, nor do they disqualify by contact. If a wafer comes in contact with another wafer, or a slice of meat with another slice, neither the entire wafer nor the entire slice is forbidden. Only the place where it has been absorbed is rendered forbidden. Tell Yom and one who locks atonement do not claim a share in the offerings to eat that night. The owner may touch, but he may not offer, and he does not claim a share to eat that night. Kohanim who are blemished, those both with permanent blemishes and those with only passing blemishes, claim a share and eat, but they may not offer. Whoever is not fit to perform the service is not sharing the offering meat, and whoever has no share of the meat has no share in the hides. Even one who was tummy at the time that the blood was thrown, and tahor at the time the fats were burned, does not claim a share in the meat, as it said, the one from among the sons of Aaron who offers the blood of the shalom offering and of the fat, the right thigh shall be his as a gift portion. Okay.
One more.
Whenever the altar does not acquire the right to the meat, the Kohanim do not acquire the right to the tithe. As it is said, the Kohanim who offers a person's Olah offering, an Olah which has been credited to a person, an Olah offering which is slaughtered for a designation other than his own, even though it is not credited to its owner, its hide belongs to the Kohanim. And both the Olah offering of a man and the Olah offering of a woman, their hides belong to the Kohanim. Okay.
Okay. Mishna Gimel. Oros kodshim kalim labalim. So the skins of the lesser holy sacrifices, for example, shlamim, toda, whatever, these belong to the owners. The oros kodshe kodshim lakohanim, and the skins of the most holy offerings, for example, chatas. We already know that the ola belongs to the kohanim. We're also learning that the chatas and the asham also belong to the kohanim. Kal v'chomer. How do we know this? Because of the Kal v'chomer. Ma'im ola shelo zachu b'vivsara. The ola, the kohanim didn't get any of the meat, but they nonetheless got the skins. So the kodshe kodshim shezachu b'vsaran, where they do get the meat, ein odin sheyizku b'oran, then for sure they're going to get the skins as well. Okay, now you might come with the pircha to say, there's a bit of lamdas here in the Mishnah, which isn't common. You might have thought that well, actually you can't prove anything because the mizbeach doesn't when the mizbeach gets the flesh, it doesn't get the skin. So who says that just because the kohanim get the flesh that they must get the skin? No, okay, but you can't bring a disproof from the mizbeach, says the Mishnah. She'ein lo or mikol makom, because the or is just not shaykh to the skin, just is never shaykh to the mizbeach. You never put a skin on the mizbeach, so you can't disprove anything from there. So the kal v'chomer remains in place, and the kohanim get the skins of the most holy offerings, and the owners of the animals keep the skins from the lesser holy offerings. Okay. Mishnah Daled, Kol HaKodashim she'era bahem psul kodem lehef shaitan. All of the holy offerings that got a psul before they got skinned. Ein orosehen lekohanim. Then they don't get the skins. Okay. La'achar hef shaitan, after they have been skinned. Orosehen lekohanim. Then it's already done, and the kohanim get to keep the skins. Amar Rabbi Chanina Sgana Kohanim. So now Rabbi Chanina Sgana Kohanim is a very authoritative figure, being that he was a Kohen, he was one of the officials of the Kohanim, and his testimony carries a lot of weight. It says Miyamai Lora Isi Or Yotzei Lebeis Astreifa. He says, I never ever saw in a skin going out to be burned. Which what is he implying over here? He's talking about the beginning of the Mishnah. He says if there was a psul in the korban before it was skinned, then the kohanim don't get the skin. Everything goes out to be burned. Okay, and he's saying, but I never saw that happen. Amar Rabbi Akiva midvarav lamadnu she'amafshit es habachor v'nimtza treifa. He says that if somebody skinned a bechor and then discovered that, oh, whoops, this bechor is actually a treifa, Nonetheless, she also a kohen be'oro. Even though the psul happened, it's a treifa animal, so the psul happened before it was skinned. You should say, okay, so the whole thing must go out to the base of treifa. But according to Rabbi Chanina, says Rabbi Akiva, what you learn from this is that the kohen still manages to keep the skin. Chachamim disagree. Say ein lo ra'inu raya. So just because he never saw it doesn't mean it never happened. Okay, that's you can't prove anything from an absence of evidence. You can only prove it from a positive thing where you dafka saw a treifa and the skin went to the kohanim. That would have been acceptable as a proof. But just because you never saw such a thing happen doesn't mean it never happened. Ela yotzei lebeis treifa says that any korban, let's say an ola happened, that if an ola got skinned and then they discovered that it was a treifa, then the skins must also go out to be burned. Okay. Mishna hey parim hanisrafim useirim hanisrafim. So the bulls and the goats that need to be burned. So remember, those are the specific ones where the blood service is done inside the heichal. Right. For example, the parim of Yom Kippur and the korbanos of the Sanhedrin and of the Kohen Gadol who need to bring a chatas, as we learned in Maseches Sorayos. Okay. If they are burned according to the mitzvah, if everything is done 100% correct, nisrafin bebeis hadeshin, then they are burned in a place called the Beis Hadeshin. The Beis Hadeshin is outside Yerushalayim. Okay. Umatamin begadim, and the person who takes them out and burns them becomes it's one of the gezer. It's a pasha the gezeres akasuf that they get too much begadim from it. Okay, and if they were not burned according to the mitzvah, now what does it mean that it didn't get? For example, if they became pasul and they needed to be burned like any other pasul korban, okay, nisrafin bebeis habira, they burnt in a different place called the Beis Habira, which is in the Beis Hamikdash, but it's not on the mizbech. It's just that the tamei offerings and anything pasul gets burned over there on the Beis Habira. But Einam Mitamin Begadim, and the people who were involved in the service do not become Tameh because this is not part of the avoda. It's only when it's part of the actual avoda of burning a kasha korban in the Beis Hadeshin that the person who does it becomes Tameh Begadim. We see in a few places, by the way, that somebody who participates in the avoda of something becomes Tameh. Paraduma. The Sir Mishtaleach on Yom Kippur, the guy who takes the seer out into the wilderness, he also becomes Tameh Begadim. So there are a few of these cases where you're doing everything 100% like the mitzvah, and he becomes Tameh, including his clothing. So, but it's only when it's done correctly. If it's done not according to the mitzvah, if there was a psul, then there's no Tumas Begadim.
In the place of ashes where they do the burning.
Yes.
That includes any kind of korban.
No, there are specific korbanos that have to be taken to the Beis Hadeshin. Those ones that we spoke about, where part of the mitzvah is that they have to be burned outside in the Beis Hadeshin. Most of the korbanos, the vast majority of korbanos, everything happens inside the mikdash. It's on the mizbeach. It gets eaten here, or it's eaten in Jerusalem, or whatever. But things that need to be burned in the Beis Hadeshin are the specific things that usually involve Yom Kippur or the Kohen Gadol or the Sanhedrin.
All right.
Okay. Test base.
The following should not be taken down once they have gone up: that which has been kept overnight, or that which has become tameh, or that which has been taken out of the courtyard, or that which has been slaughtered with intent for beyond its time, or outside its place, or which disqualified people received, or through its blood. Rabbi Yehuda says the offering which was slaughtered at night, or whose blood spilled, or whose blood was taken out beyond the curtains, or was taken up and must be taken down. Rabbi Shimon says it should not be taken down. For Rabbi Shimon would say any offering whose invalidation is in the holy accepts it. But if an invalidation was not in the holy does not accept it. The following did not have their invalidations in the holy: an animal that committed an act of bestiality, an animal which an act of bestiality was performed, an animal designated for idolatrous sacrifice, an animal which has been worshipped in a harlot's payment, a dog's exchange, a mixed breed, a treifa, an animal born by cesarean section, and a blemished animal. Rakiva validates in the case of blemished animals, and Rabbi Kanina, the distributor of Kohanim, says, "Father would turn away blemished animals from the altar." just as once they were brought up on they were up, they were not taken down. So too, once they got taken down, they say they may not be brought up. If any of the ascended to the top of the altar while alive, they should be taken down. And all of which ascended to the top of the altar while alive should be taken down. And he slaughtered on the top of the altar a male skin and dismembered it in its place.
He must skin it and dismember it in its place. That's his punishment. Okay.
The only ascended to the top of the altar while alive. I mean, but they were slaughtered already.
No,
right?
while alive. If he took the animal up to the top of the mizbeach alive, he walked it up, and now it can't go down. No. Sorry, it should go down while it's alive. But if he slaughtered it there, okay, now you slaughtered it there. Now we can't take it down. So now he has to actually do all the rest of the cutting and skinning on top of the mizbeach because he's not allowed to take it down.
The purpose of doing that, you know.
So it's a tachlis, don't do it.
Okay, hey base, right?
That's chaf actually, but anyway.
Yehuda ben Tima says, "Behold, be bold as a namir, swift as an eagle, fast as a deer, and strong as a lion to do the will of your Father in heaven." He used to say, "The brazen face in Gehenna, the shame face in the Garden of Eden. May it be your will before Hashem, your God, that you realize that you build your city speedily in our days and grant us a share in your Torah." He would say, a 5-year-old to study scriptures, a 10-year-old to study Mishna, a 13-year-old to observe the mitzvahs, and a 15-year-old to study Talmud. As an 18-year-old might go to the wedding academy. A 20-year-old to chase, a 30-year-old for power, a 40-year-old for understanding, a 50-year-old for counsel, a 60-year-old for old age, a 70-year-old for ripe old age, an 80-year-old for strength, a 90-year-old to be stooped over, a 100-year-old to be as if he died and passed away and ceased from this world. Ben Bagbag says, delve into it, for everything is contained in it, and with it you will see and grow old and wise with it. And do not stir from it, because you have become no better portion than it. Okay,
that's it.
All right.
Shavuos. Beis Gimel.
If one became tummy in the courtyard and the tumah escaped his memory, though he remembered the temple, or the fact that it was the temple escaped his memory, though he remembered the tumah, or both escaped his memory, and he prostrated himself, or he stayed long enough to prostrate himself, or if he went out by the longer way, he is liable. By the shortest way, he is exempt. This is the positive commandment concerning the temple, which there is no liability. Now, what is the positive commandment concerning the administration for which there is liability? If one was cohabitating with a woman who was tahor, and she said to him, "I have become tummy," and he withdrew immediately, he is liable, because his exit is as pleasurable to him as his entry. If Eliezer says a sheretz and it escaped his awareness, he is liable for getting the sheretz, but he is not liable for getting the temple. If Akiva says if it escaped his awareness and it was tamei, he is liable for getting the tumah, but he is not liable for getting the temple. If Rabbi Shael says the words, and it escapes his awareness and escapes his awareness, say it twice to make one liable both for getting the tumah and for getting the temple.
Okay.
Okay, the Dharam. They say, if one vowed referring to cherem and said, "I vowed with reference to a fisherman's net," or he vowed referring to korban and he said, "I vowed with reference to gifts for kings," for if he declared, "Myself is to you like a korban," and he said, "I vowed with reference to a bone that I have not set aside for myself to use for medorim," or kohanim, that which my wife benefits from me, and he said, "My declaration was directed at my first wife, whom I divorced." For all of these, they need not request cancellation, and if they requested cancellation, we penalize them, and we are strict with them. These are the words of the mayor. The sages, however, say we find grounds to annul the Gendera from elsewhere, and we teach them so that they not conduct themselves with levity when dealing with the Dara. The sages permitted for the Durham, bargaining in the Durham, hyperbolic Durham, unreading the Durham, and the Durham on conditions of order unavoidably unfulfilled. What about bargaining in the Durham? One was selling an item, and he said, "Kohen, if I sell to you for less than Osela," and the other says, "Kohen, if I pay you more than a shekel," both persons are willing at 3 dinners. Now, Eliezer Ben Yaakov says, so too, one who wants to direct a neder at another, so that the person should eat with him. He says, any neder that I will make in the future is void, and this is effective providing that he remembers at the time of the neder. What are hyperbolic nedorim? A person says, Kohanim, unless I have seen on this road, like those departing from Egypt, or unless I have seen a snake like a beam on the olive press. What are unwilling nedorim? A person said, if I ate and if I drank, if he remembers that he ate or drank, if I eat, if I drink, And he forgot, and I ate and drank. And if a person said, Kohenah, my wife benefiting from me because she stole my purse, or she beat my son, or it was discovered that she had not beaten him, and it was discovered that she had not robbed him. And a person saw people eating figs, and he said, these are korban to you. And he turned out to be his father and his brothers, and there were others with him. And Shammai says they are permitted with those with them are forbidden. And Beis Hillel, however, says both are permitted.
Okay.
We have Ma'aser Sheni. Okay. If one buys cattle for peace offerings or a non-domestic animal for meat consumption, the hide becomes not holy, even though the hide exceeds the flesh. Sealed jars of wine in localities where they are sold sealed, the jar becomes non-holy. Nuts and almonds, the shells become non-holy. Grape residue wine, before it has been fermented, may not be brought with ma'aser money. After it has been fermented, it may be brought with ma'aser money. If one buys a non-domestic animal for a peace offering or cattle for meat offering, meat consumption, the hide does not become non-holy. Open or sealed jars of wine where they are sold open, the jars do not become non-holy. And baskets of olives and baskets of grapes together with the receptacle, the value of the receptacle does not become non-holy. And if one buys water or salt or produce attached to the soil or produce which cannot reach the use of Yerushalayim, he has not brought ma'aser. If one brought produce in error, the money must be redeemed. If unwittingly, he must go up and be eaten in the place. But when there is no temple, let it rot.
Okay.
And we have the guy. A Kohen who is blind in one eye and whose vision is weak may not examine the Gayim, because the Torah states, as far as the eyes as the Kohen can see. We do not make new windows or a dark house in order to examine its nega. How is a nega examined? The man is examined in the position of someone hoeing and of someone pickling olives. A woman is examined in the position of someone shaping dough and of someone nursing a child, or someone who is weaving on a standing loom to expose her underarm for a right arm. Rabbi Yehuda says also she assumes the position of someone who is spinning linen for her left arm. Just as he examines for his nega, so he views for his shaving. A person may examine a negim except for his own. And Rabbi Meir says also not the negayim of his relatives. A person may annul any vows except for his own. Rabbi Yehuda says also not the vows of his wife. They are between her and others. And a person may examine any four-sworn animals except for his own.
Okay.
Interesting about the person who's blind, because we were just doing Havdalah. We're talking about Havdalah with Rabbi Myers about what happens if a person is blind. Can he make the bracha?
On bracha on what?
I'm sorry, on the age for the Havdalah.
Ah, yes. Okay.
So we didn't finish that yet. So we just started.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's true. What do you do with a case like that?
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
I'm gonna run. Have a good day.
Oh, by next week, by the way, I will be away Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sunday,
Okay.
Monday, so come back sometime Thursday. We're going on a trip, so.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. So basically no shirim next week.
Probably right.
Okay. Thank you. Cheers.